Hello everyone, welcome back to the latest update series of Drishti IAS. This is Divya Kavatra and we meet again to discuss about the concerns regarding fire safety in India. That's right. In the past few days, you must have heard a lot of incidents where fire safety concerns have been raised and the fire safety has been compromised for various reasons, right? So we'll discuss about one such case and then we'll talk about how fire safety is a concern and what are the regulations for that and why is this happening continuously despite the fact that we have regulations, despite the fact that we have all kinds of rules and regulations. Why does this keep happening? What are we doing wrong and how can we control that? All right, all that we will discuss today under one case study. The case study is of the Aliganj fire, right? This has been in news consistently. Aliganj fire, right? The studies were there that revealed that building where this blaze happened, multiple lives were also lost here, several were injured here. This was a residential structure. So what happened was, where this fire took place in Aliganj, this is the building, right? This is the building where the fire took place, and this building was made for residential purpose but was actually being used for commercial purpose. Yeah, it was residential but was being used for the commercial purpose and converted into it without changing any structural applications or any structural implementations. It was directly converted into a commercial building. The overload of commercial building is much higher as compared to a residential building, right? That overload is obviously going to disrupt with the system, but they don't understand that. That's why they've converted this without giving any notification to the department, without changing the structure, without, just because they want to save some money, because commercial buildings have separate taxes, separate electricity bills, etc. And they didn't want to fall in under that. That's why people just avoid converting their residential buildings into commercial ones, right? And they start working in a commercial payload. And because of that load, many a times what happens is the circuits break down, right? And such fires occur. So that is what happened here. Residential building turned into commercial without any notification, without any changes, and made an establishment in 2014, right? This tragic fire in Aliganj, Lucknow, it served as an example of the urban trap that we are talking about, okay? Why there is an urban trap? Because naturally in the urbanization that we are moving towards, there is a trap. What is the trap? That whenever you are changing something, it is getting a higher and higher load. And if it is getting a load, you have to cater to it accordingly, right? So the lapse occurred because there was a human course now. It claimed 15 lives, approximately 15 lives, and youngsters trapped inside a commercial coaching center, office complex, everywhere. The entire building had several commercial platforms, right? So wherever there was a fire, this happened, right? So the paper versus reality disconnect, if we talk about, the plan was originally sanctioned in 2014. It was originally sanctioned in 2014 and it was strictly for residential use. It was strictly made for residential use and under the Rameshwaram group. Now it was illegally converted into high density commercial building, right? There was no notification for this. There was no translation for this. Illegally this was converted. And now systemic complicity is there. Lucknow Municipal Corporation, they had also been actively collecting commercial property tax from the building since 2022. So this brings out that it is not just the lack of civic sense. Like, it is not just about the civic sense, it is also about the local civic authorities that were fully aware of the fact. Since they had been collecting corporate tax from them, that means they were fully aware that this building had already been converted into commercial building. But they did not do anything about it. They did not even give them a warning that you should get it registered and you should get the system changed. Otherwise, you cannot continue. You should follow the code. But they were not following the code. Local authorities knew that and they anyway let this go on. Yeah, that brings into light that it is not just people, it is also the authorities that are taking things very lightly and giving proper negligence to such important matters, right? So this happened, and accountability gap is also there because it placed 16 officials and engineers under investigation. Now, whom will you punish for this? Whom will you punish for this? The owner, the municipal corporation that knew about this and didn't do anything about it, the people who were there when they were watching the residential building being converted. Why didn't they do anything about it? Whom will you punish? Everybody is liable. Everybody is liable, right? So there is no one head to roll actually, but several lives have been lost because of this negligence. why does this happen? You just see, you take a look at this building, and you see this is a structure, right? Can you see two comparative structures here? In the two comparative structures, the escape structure here and the escape structure here, they are different. Just observe that and you'll be able to see, right? If you're walking through this structure and if you're walking through this structure, what will happen is, in the fire escape staircase, there is an entire chain of staircase. If there are staircases and you have to avoid lifts during the fire, you know that, right? If you're avoiding the lift, staircases should take you to a direct exit, right? That is the plan, and this entire structure should be accustomed with an exhaust case, right? And that way the entire smoke would be let out. If there is a fire here, the entire smoke would go out from this channel and the people can come down from the staircase, and along with the lift, there has to be staircases. It is a compulsion, right? Such a compulsion is there. And to save space, what buildings do usually is that to save the space, this is made, but the stairs are escaped, right? And if we do that, naturally we will lose out on an escape method, and that would cause death. That is happening all over the places, right? So now, if we talk about the systemic failures, what are there? First of all, mixed use conversions, because they routinely convert residential units into commercial ones, and that leads to overload, and that leads to fires, like they turn into godowns, etc. Then in the fragmented governance problem, there were fire services are, state subject, and under the 12th schedule of the Constitution, it is covered. This decentralization results in uncoordinated regulatory frameworks. Because of that also, there are many loopholes in the system. There is no one regulated system that is required on a central basis. Because of this, multiple rules are there, and that causes confusions, and there are loopholes. Because of that, people get away with it. Yeah. Next thing is NOC corruption. No objection certificates that are given to the building. Any building, once it starts operating, it needs to get a no objection certificate, right? That no objection certificate is given out, handed out, without even surveying the land, without even coming to just look at the building. They just sit in the office and sign on it. Such kind of corruption has also been witnessed. Because of that also, most of the things are not heavily congested spaces and all these, they're not regulated, right? And if we talk about the modern architectural hazard, the rise of glass facade. Now see, we are following the European style, we are following the French style, like French have anyway beautiful buildings anyway, but still we are following the American style, and we build these buildings with glasses, right? They look very beautiful these days. People are building glass houses today. Now just understand, the climate there and the climate here are totally different, right? The climate there is such that they need the glass so that at least some amount of sunlight they would be able to get if they're working throughout the day, right? In India, the climate and the atmospheric conditions, they are not apt for glass buildings. But still, we're just trying to copy the developed countries, and we're just trying to copy their architectural style, and we feel like this is oh so modern. No. It is not about modernity, it is about the requirement of your climate and your atmosphere. You do that according to this, not according to the styles what the world is following. Because they need the glasses, their glasses are a requirement, not a style. You took that as a style and you started implementing here. That's not right. Right? The architectural style that India had, the mud houses, the terracotta houses, they're coming back. They're coming back in trend because this was viable for us. This was best for us, right? That's why it is coming back. Now people are just taking up glasses. The reflection of the light, it causes so much of heat trap. That heat trap ultimately leads to an explosion, right? So this architectural design that is going around, that is also a problem. Yeah, that also becomes lethal. So this is how an escape system should be created in the structure, and we need that definitely, right? And along with that, obviously, there is a resource crunch, because the data that we have from different bodies, it completely highlights that there's a national deficiency in emergency response. 97.6% shortage of operational fire stations, 96.3% shortage of firemen, and 80.04% shortage of rapid response fire tenders and rescue vehicles. If we don't have proper services, even if we call, a fire extinguisher or something, Nobody is going to come on time. And until then, a large scale fire would have erupted, right? So our system really needs to improve. As much as we are focusing on the improvement of ambulances, we also need to focus on the improvement of these, right? And we need to introduce people with fire alarms, because most of the people think that fire alarms are only for commercial buildings. No, they can be anywhere you think there is a risk of fire. Simple, right? Everywhere you should have that. Clear? Yeah. Now, sprinklers should be there, fire extinguishers should be there, updated fire extinguishers should be there, but the resource crunch is really, really true. If we talk about the legislative shifts, we had NBC 2016 and NBC S 2026. If we see the comparison, if we see the status, it was prescriptive mandatory code, and now NBCS 2026 is an advisory standard guidance framework, right? From mandatory code, we have come to advisory, while we should have made this extremely mandatory at the same time. Yeah. Then we have local autonomy, rigid centralized benchmarks are there, greater say is there of states and urban local body in the current system. In the previous system, about the height threshold, it was 15 meters or taller, and now it is 24 meters or taller. Yeah. Safety compliance is only for 24 meters or taller. Most of the buildings only have 2 to 3 floors, and they don't fall under the category. That means they don't even have to register, right? They don't even have to get the compliance. If they don't have to, naturally, it will be, disobeyed here and there, right? Exactly. So these are the concerns that have been rising, and the basic takeaway from this that we can take is that we failed to issue the core address, and this is a red flag that all the databases are red flag that our authorities are not working properly, our regulations are not working properly, there is no compliance, and every day there are instances that prove that literally this is not working. Yeah. So we really need to move towards a better compliant system as well as a better policy, so that we can make sure that this is done properly and we don't lose lives to it. We don't lose lives to it. We don't have such hazards every other day. Yes. Do you think this is a necessary step? Do you think this is a necessary step? Yes. Let us know in the comment section what rule, what constitutional provision gives Parliament the power to make a rule on this. To make a rule on this, under what constitutional provision would Parliament be able to take care of this, right? Since it is a state subject, is there any provision through which Parliament can also make a part of this? What is that provision and how it should be done? Just tell us that in the comment section. And now we have a question for you. Now we have a question for you based on the same topic. Please read the question and let us know the answer. All right. Yeah. Give us your answer in the comment section. Okay, that's about it. That's about it. And that was our topic for fire safety. I hope you understood this very clearly. See you in the next video. Till then, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.